Hello, BookTube. First thing this morning, I saw a book tag by Mark at Richardson Reads in which he makes a very valid observation, which is there are a lot of tags out there that have stopped going around. They're like the seasonal flu. And once they make the rounds of BookTube, they sort of deliquesce. Which is might seem natural, but it's unfair because it doesn't take into account the fact that hundreds of people join us every week. Hundreds of new booktubers start their channels every week. And Mark is right that a lot of these tags are really good. So he started something that he refers to as BRR Book Tag Quest. And BRR, in a gesture of megalomania that I find very reassuring because it's very Steve-like, stands for Before Richardson Reads, where he goes back to earlier tags. And I think that's a great idea. I think we should all be redoing these tags all the time. And I thought I would enlist a little help to move the quest along and do one of my own. Because narcissism shared is narcissism squared. And it's the About Me tag. I saw Beck at Beck's Books do it as well this morning. And I thought we'd go through them together. These are the perils when you're my guest. The question number one is, what did you study? What is your job? I studied English, and my job is a book critic.
It's the same.
It's exactly the same.
Studied
Yes.
English.
My
job is a book
your
critic.
job is a book critic, which is kind of strange, right? You must experience the same thing. You sit there and you look out the window and you see hundreds of people streaming to work, and you remember what it was like to be that. That, I've got only so long until I have to be out the door. I have to be where I need to be.
Well, that's why I studied English. It was the first. I took a lot of different classes, and when I took English classes, where you just sit there and opine about things that you've read, I had more facility for it than anything
Do you
else.
ever miss it? The structured 9 to 5, the reporting to work, the
Oh.
wearing pants. He probably wears pants. Most people do. I couldn't wait to bid them goodbye. But we're in the same position because our job the parameters of it have morphed away from what most of you would consider the parameters of a job, which is to go someplace and be there for a certain amount of time. Instead, it's this mental list of deadlines that, I've got this is immediate, this can be fudged, I need to do a little more work on this pays better than this, so maybe I should prioritize it a little more, but nothing to do with...
I think that's a more recent incarnation of the book critic. I think previously it was a little bit more office-bound. I mean, it was always...
Oh, yeah.
fairly
Well,
solitary.
certainly before the internet.
But it used to be
you
that
had
you
to go there.
You were on a staff. It wasn't entirely freelance staff. It's still not entirely freelance staff for the most part.
Well, that's it. How many are there? How many people are there who make their living only by being book critics and nothing else? No academics, no...
Well, there are a lot if you count younger people who their living they don't have to make a ton of money.
True. All right, well, that's our job. I'm not sure that he's going to answer every question with me. I'm perfectly happy to hog the limelight myself. So, question number 2 is, what is your favorite social media channel? I don't. The reason you hear crickets from over there is I'd be willing to bet you don't have a social media favorite, or do you? Certainly don't seem very big on Twitter.
No, I follow people on Twitter who go birding in Central Park.
Oh my God!
And they report on the interesting species of warblers that are migrating through the ramble. The upper lobe and the gill and the various places in Central Park where you can see magnolia warblers and Wilson warblers and sometimes all sorts of other. You can see Cooper's hawks and things like that. I always follow them. I'm interested in what's going on there.
I scroll through teenage bodybuilders on Instagram. You makes your choices, you pays your fee. Question number 3. Question number 3. If you had another channel, what would it be about? I've often thought how much fun it would be to call up the daily news on this iPad and just riff on the daily news for a channel. Steve reads the news. but I think my answer the last time was, I mean, what other? This is almost saying, what else are you qualified to talk about?
I know. But you don't need to be qualified to have a channel.
It's, oh my God, is that true? But I don't know what it would be. None of my dog advice is transferable to humans, and I have lots of opinions about the news, but that channel wouldn't work now because I try my best to avoid large chunks of the news now. So I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't know either.
Well, birding.
Birds, birds, soccer. I don't know.
Well, we're dealing with a paucity of outside interests here, and I think that's going to come up again on this. Anyway, question number 4. Do you play any instruments? I do not play any instruments. Do you play any instruments?
No. When I was young, I took lessons playing the recorder for some reason. We had a neighbor who taught that. So that was the instrument my parents had me play.
But it never took. You weren't interested in it?
Not especially, no. No, it's a shame. No, this whole tag is just going to reveal how truly bottomlessly pathetic we are, isn't it?
Kind of is. It kind of is. There's no such thing as a book reviewer tag. Why don't one of you make a book reviewer tag?
Just go back to opening the mail.
I know.
The only thing
I know. When the mail is all books, all of a sudden we look great. All right. Well, look. Oh God. Oh my God. Question number 5.
You know
what hobbies do you have other than reading?
There was a time in my life when I traveled a lot, and when I went hiking and went for walks and was involved in the
what about
the
right
natural
now?
world.
Do you have a hobby right now that has nothing to do with reading?
It's terrible. No, it's terrible. I cook a lot. I cook a lot more now.
But that's necessity.
I have practical needs that I try to find a kind of an interest in. I have duties that I try to convert into avocations as well as being.
But no adult coloring
books.
But
it doesn't. No.
No video games.
No, I don't play video games. No.
We are conceivably the worst 2 people in the country to ask this question to. What do you have any hobbies other than reading? Let's just move on. Question number 6. What is your favorite TV shows? Do you watch any TV?
No.
I don't watch any TV. None whatsoever. What about in the past? What about in the past when you watched a lot of TV? All we do is read and write and care for infants. That's all we do.
When I was in college, there was a 2-hour span where they would show repeats, syndicated shows, and it was The Simpsons, Seinfeld, News Radio, and another episode of The Simpsons. And it was like the best 2 hours.
That sounds like a great lineup.
Of just there was something so embracing about it. You just didn't have to think about that 2 hours. It was totally given among my small group of friends.
Great smart comedy. The only thing missing is Frasier. The only thing to complete that for smart comedy would be Frasier.
No, I used to watch a lot of TV. I used to love TV. I used to watch dramas and everything.
Me too.
I
don't do it anymore. I used to love TV, Star Trek. And I think the last time I did this tag, I mentioned my all-time favorite TV show, The Adventures of Superman. Came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. Yes, Superman, able to change the course of mighty rivers, bend steel in his bare hands, and who, disguised as Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, justice, and the American way. And then it fades to a picture of George Reeves in black and white with his arms akimbo on his hips and the American flag flying in the back. And that's supposed to distract your attention from the fact that he's a slightly gone-to-seed high school gym teacher with knock knees. But it doesn't matter. He pulls it off. Oh. But that was a long time ago.
This is an exercise in nostalgia.
Question number 7. What got you into reading? Huh? Here you go. You already know the answer. My answer was I had one teacher a long time ago who opened my eyes, literally a Helen Keller moment, to the fact that reading could be done for pleasure and be amazing. Otherwise,
do you mean which books was it? I mean, what got me into it probably was school assignments.
That you discovered you liked.
I remember reading. We talked about it. The Prydane. Was that Pride Drain?
Oh,
Prydane.
right,
The
yes.
Prydane Chronicles when I was young. I didn't really read a lot of fantasy series, but I love those books.
What about the active side of it? It's not part of this question, but we can indulge since we're doing so horribly. What about the other side of it? Not just the passive reading, but the reaching out and writing about. The jump that a lot of readers don't make when I think they should. I think they should all try it. It's one of the things I love about Goodreads is that it encourages you to not just passively receive, but to write something in response to what you read. But what
Well, it happened in school again, school assignments. And then there was a point when English class assignments became a little bit more creative. Like I remember one where it was imitate the voice of the writer that you
oh
read an additional chapter to something, to Crime and Punishment or something like that. Um, because when you do that, then you think much more about the thoughts and the motivations of what the writer was thinking when they go into it.
and you enjoyed that.
Oh yeah, that's the excitement of
And what about
reading
this
books.
is not going to be in this because none of you has come up with the book reviewer tag, and why would you? I know. But then again, thanks to Amazon and Goodreads, all of us are book reviewers. So one of you should come up with that tag and then tag me. But what about reviewing? When did you first realize that you liked it and that you were good at it? Was that open letters or was it before that?
Oh no, it was well before then. I reviewed originally for things that no longer exist for free city weeklies. This was after I got out of college and I was working at a Barnes and Noble, and I lived in a few places. I lived in Pittsburgh, and I lived in Tucson.
Pittsburgh.
I lived in Atlanta or in Georgia, in Athens, Georgia. And all these places used to have free city weeklies that were in the. I mean, even New York doesn't even have them anymore,
No.
except in because the Village Voice doesn't have a print edition anymore. But it used to be that there was the little plastic box.
It's that thing that
It's everywhere.
What's the thing now? What's it called? That's everywhere. And it's the same. It's free, and it litters the ground, and it's in every major city. I'm blanking on the name.
Well, it's like real estate ads now. I don't know what
That-
other sorts of newspapers
It's
are.
a little
The things they give you
Metro,
when you go into
is
the
that what it's
subway.
called?
Yeah, the daily,
the Metro
whatever
Daily
city
or
that
something
you're
like
in.
that.
It's
Absolutely taken over.
where they compress the news feeds into a 6-page sort of newspaper thing. Yeah, it used to be they were so common that Pittsburgh had two. They had the Pittsburgh City Weekly and the Pittsburgh Pulp, which was the second one, like just like New York had two. So there used to be so many that so anyone could just the editors were like any place. They were just desperate for
And you
usable
enjoyed
content.
it. You tried it and liked it.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is you would be in print. And that was a cool thing.
What did you do?
That gave legitimacy to
Uh,
it. You paid like $25 a piece.
Where did you review that Africa book? That big Africa book. Wasn't that one of the first reviews you ever did?
Well, that was in New York. So then I came to New York, and New York had two also. New York had the Village Voice and the New York Press. And I wrote for the New York Press for a while. Yeah. And that was just a matter of going to the Strand, picking a book off the front table.
And deciding.
And that's how I did it. When I first came to New York, I picked a book, I wrote a piece on spec, and sent it to both the Village Voice and the New York Press. And sent it in the mail, in snail mail.
Oh, wow.
Because I didn't really even know
man.
how to do, how to send attachments in email. And I sent it with like a CV that I had printed out. And they took it at the New York Press. So then I wrote for them for a while. Yeah.
Wow.
I know. So the equivalent now are online journals.
Yes. Online
Those still
journals.
exist, so just
they do indeed
the
still
fact that-
exist. We'll talk all about a certain online journal, but yes, that is the equivalent, and it's the same thing, right? You pick a book, you hustle,
Yeah.
and it's just online instead of these ratty little journals. But it's
hilarious how much we've had to stray from these questions in order to have anything
kind
to
of
say.
the questions are designed for people who have slightly better lives than we do. But that's all right. Let's see here. Maybe we'll do better with what. Number 8, what are your favorite and least favorite genres? There we go. Squarely into reading. You all already know mine, biography and history, by far. But yours would be upper middle class Connecticut divorce?
It would be literary fiction.
Literary fiction. Contemporary literary fiction.
Yes.
Although, okay, what outside of that? when you leave that? You like the Russians, don't you?
I love the Russians, but that doesn't constitute literary fiction? You're talking about
Well,
classic
when
fictions.
I
It doesn't
think,
have to be contemporary for me.
Oh,
No. I just
okay.
mean fiction. I mean the novel
The novel.
is my favorite.
Your beloved
Or
Vasily
short-
Grossman.
Yes, Vasily Grossman.
And Murasaki Shikibu, we both love. So
The novel is my favorite. My least favorite. That's a good question. I feel bad choosing one because I don't. If it's a least favorite, it's usually something I haven't read enough of to have an opinion. But I don't like. I don't like business books.
Me neither.
I think that might be my least favorite because
demonic books, just in general, books where you're not supposed to appreciate them, you're supposed to get something out of them.
Well, I don't actually. I wouldn't mind business books if it was purely like, here's how you invest money. Here is the practical way that you should invest your money and save for the future and be prudent financially. I wouldn't mind that. But business books always have a moral tinge now. They've sort of taken over. They've slotted into like religious and philosophical and sociological books.
And they really like greed.
So they're expanding something else, and what they're doing is rationalizing making lots of money in lots of different avenues of human thought, of ethics and faith and religion and philosophy. They're
prosperity
sort of
gospel.
co-opting all of those things.
the prosperity gospel. It's all through these business books.
And literature also. There's tons of books that are sort of about the the how artistic it is to make lots of money and how it's connected and things like that.
We're running out of battery here, so we'll have to continue with the questions.
God.
I will.
The only thing that can save us.
It's the only thing that can save us. I will lecture about the prosperity gospel in some future video. Although it could not be any clearer for Christians. It could not be any clearer for them. Every other religion there's a little bit of wiggle room. In Christianity, your Messiah says, "Go and sell everything you have and give it to the poor, and then follow me, and you will have eternal life." Plain and simple. He doesn't speak plain and simple about a whole bunch of things, but he's as clear as crystal about money. But anyway, question number 9: what books define your childhood?
Oh, we talked about the Prydain Chronicles, the Lloyd Alexander. So they're great. The High King, the 5th volume, it does a thing where in the climax of the last volume, it returns to a very small scene that's in the 1st volume. And when I saw that, I was amazed that was a thing that could happen.
Really?
And then I realized that there was a logic that was governing the whole thing, and there was a way that dramatic logic worked, and it was so intense and moving, but also you went, that was brilliantly done. I brought it back.
Are you worried?
Rewarding you. Are
you worried about going back to it? Are you worried that it wouldn't be there if you went back to it? Like that Frasier episode where they dig up their old favorite actor, played by Derek Jacobi. But it turns out he's a terrible actor, and he always has been. They go back and watch the videotapes, and he's saying, "I live, Horatio. I die, Horatio." They're horrified watching the videos to realize he's always been bad. Are you afraid to go back to Lloyd Alexander?
I don't have an urge to, but no, I think they seem to have held up pretty well. They keep getting reprinted, and people keep reading them.
It's true. They're not Harry Potter anymore, but they once were. No books define my childhood. My childhood's defined by people sniffing their own poop. And question number 10, last one. Tell us an interesting fact about you. As this tag has made clear, there aren't any interesting facts about it. Okay, you've got to come up with something. What is an interesting fact about you? And don't mention birds.
Okay.
There's got to be something.
Do
you have a superfluous third nipple, like Krusty the Clown?
No.
He doesn't have a superfluous third nipple, like Krusty the Clown and Mark Wahlberg, both of whom have superfluous third nipples.
I've been to 48 of the 50 states in the United States.
There you go.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. That's more than most people do in their lifetime.
Yeah. I've been to all but 2 of the national parks in the U.S.
There you go. Wow. And I have reached out my hand and touched a whale in the water. Which is again. Oh, also I've also reached out my hand and touched an elephant in the wild, which those are things that a lot of people haven't done. Maybe the whale thing, probably people have done, especially since whales seem to like it, which is kind of weird. It's kind of strange. But anyway, so there you go. That was the About Me tag by two of the most cloistered and boring people in the world.
I'm gonna go re-examine my life.
Yeah. I'll see you soon, book 2.